BXB. It's in the game!
After a wonderfully atmospheric showing at E3 this year, We Happy Few has just landed in game preview on Xbox One and in early access on PC. But it's important to look at this screen because it bookends the experience and it does stress one important fact. We Happy Few is kind of not the game we hoped it would be yet. Now, what was shown at E3 was this amazing prologue part of the game, and that is in this early preview of the game. And hell, why don't we look at that right now, because this is my early look at We Happy Few, and while it's not necessarily everything we expected it to be immediately, it certainly has some promise. Now, I'm going to show some footage, how about right now, of what was that cool stuff from E3. I've truncated it, it's not all in here, but basically most of what you saw, and maybe a few extra bits actually, of the experience from E3 are in the game. The stuff from E3 was actually mostly kind of cutscene-y type stuff, where the control is mostly taken away from you, or it's mostly just showing you scripted events like this. I am in control right now, I'm watching these creepy goings on. And it's tutorializing. It takes you through this cool setup, introduces you to the world, introduces you to characters, specifically to your character Arthur. You get a real idea. I spent a lot of time in the poking around these offices, reading everything I could, checking out the redacted machine, causing problems potentially for other people in the office. It hints at possible other characters in the game, of which there aren't any yet. Things quickly start to go awry, and this is the scene you will remember from E3 in which the piñata shows itself to be something not as festive as the Mexican tradition would imply. And obviously this is just oozing this credible sort of 60s Clockwork Orange dystopic world. The tone, those faces will haunt my nightmares. As will their constant pressuring me to take the drugs that keep me compliant and happy in this universe. But you know what? I'm a downer now. I am not taking these drugs. I refuse. I am going to live my own life my way. And sadly, what your life is in this game so far, living it your own way, isn't exactly what was promised in this early part of the game. So while we're introduced to this world, things quickly take a bad turn, and without much ado, you get introduced to a little hub world in the tunnels, your little home base. You pick around, you do a few things, you find a few things, and then you're introduced to the world properly, the surface. And this game is a survival game. You have played this game before. It's got a thirst meter, a health meter, a hunger meter. It's got sort of vague kind of quests, a map, crafting by the bucket load, an inventory screen. Managing your inventory will become a big part of this. Working out how mechanics work in the world, how things interact with each other. Yeah, it's a procedurally generated world that's somewhat different each time you play it. It consists of tile sets being forced together, and sometimes that means the world design isn't great, but the story isn't there. There is no story in We Happy Few other than that intro right now. Remember what that first bit that said in the game? At the very top of the game it said, the disclaimer. The only story right now is the intro. There is no story for the characters. You just have this procedurally generated world. And when I saw this announced that this was going to be in game preview, I did ask myself, how's that going to work? It seemed like a really strong narrative-focused game. It looked a bit Bioshocky. It had that strong narrative feel to it. Turns out, it's not that. It's this survival game, and I love a good survival game. I'm a massive fan of things like Don't Starve, and I really enjoyed the Flame in the Flood. Another very artistic survival game. Or Sir, You're Being Hunted. Which is actually kind of reminds me the most of. That's not out on console, but if you're in the mood for something sort of steampunky and Victorian and stuff on PC, I would recommend Sir, You're Being Hunted. It's a pretty good experience. However, this isn't that narrative that we were hinted at, that experience that we were promised to a degree from that presentation. And now we know how it works in game preview. They've put out this procedure generated world. You're going to get to poke around in it. They're going to get to iterate on it. And slowly, over time, over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, a year, who knows, the story, the full game, everything that you hope it will be, will hopefully be added to this survival game. How well those two things mix, I do not know. But it's definitely too early to write off We Happy Few. They've still got a great visual style. There's still this amazing vibe coming off this game. It's a setting unlike anything that we've seen before. So my fingers are well and truly crossed that the final product will live up to that initial E3 presentation. Just right now, you know, unless you like reading lots and lots of found letters, of which there are many, and picking up rocks and bashing people's heads out and sticking them with spiky sticks and doing the kind of things you'd expect to do in a survival game, albeit a single player only one. You know, maybe wait. Maybe wait and see what happens with future updates, and just hold off for a little while, unless you're really in the mood for a pretty decent, not amazing, but pretty decent survival game. So that was We Happy Few in-game preview. It's a curious case, and I look forward to seeing what they do with it going forwards. Let's fingers crossed. Like I said, it's gonna be what we hope it will be. I'm sure I'll be back with much more coverage of this before long.
BXB. It's in the game.